is crazy people can take over shit. That's what it is. Like regular people, I don't know, you just never say shit. You ever notice that? Like you can be on a bus, 30 decent people, one crazy dude can take over the whole bus, right? Everybody's just sitting there, everything's great, then one crazy, fuck it, just starts screaming. And the second that happens, all 30 people are like, oh my God, everybody's like up against him. Has he got hepatitis? Everybody's freaking out. It's like, why doesn't everybody just pounce on the dude? I think every regular person should just have like a chloroform rag, like right in their front shirt pocket. And the second any crazy shit happens, if you're behind it, it's on you. You just pull it out, you take the guy down. Everybody jumps on him, you tie him up. Then you tattoo possibly the next Hitler across his forehead. You keep an eye on him, right? No, but it's so hard. It's just hard to speak up. That's the shit, you know? Like I was in a Target the other day, right? Not bragging, you know? I was. And I'm standing there with a buddy of mine, right? He's a bouncer. He's a bouncer in this really like crazy bar, so he knows like all these scumbags. And it just so happens that one of them just so happens to come walking through the Target. So my buddy goes to wave to him, like, hey man, how's it going? And rather than this guy being like, hey, you know, it's going pretty good, he just launches into this tirade about like immigrants right in the middle of Target. He's like, how's it going? Tell you how it's going. These goddamn Mexicans keep coming to this country, taking all the fucking jobs. Immediately, everybody in line like, ooh, Eminem, let's feed the back of these for a while. Oh, look at that, glucose. Is he still there? I'm not looking. I looked the last time. It's your turn to look. I am not looking. You just look. This guy was going off. Nobody did shit. Include me. I wasn't looking at the guy. Even the people who worked at Target, they just kept ringing stuff up like, ooh, 3 socks for $1. That's amazing. Think it's going to rain out? Fuck.
Well, I think that is a fitting intro into this podcast. I wasn't even going to give you guys a podcast today because I am a little bit busy, but I was on Twitter, surprise, and something caught my interest. No, it's not the fact that we have yet another school shooting, and that instead of actually doing something, the powers that be have, they're sending their hopes and prayers, as if that fucking means anything at this point. But no, I'm not going to talk about that, or maybe I'll talk about it, but it's not the main focus, and it's not about the incident at Starbucks where somebody ordered, I don't know what they're at, they ordered some fucking drink, and the barista, or as I like to call them, the coffee fucking monkey, fucking wrote a racial slur. I guess the gentleman was of Latin descent, and they put the name on the cup as Beaner, and of course everybody's throwing a shit fit over it, as they should. But I'm kind of, I'm at this point, if you're still buying shit from fucking Starbucks after it had been released that they use slave labor to fucking harvest their beans, if you're still buying something from fucking Starbucks after what happened with the 2 black gentlemen, and if you're standing in line sending a fucking tweet while at Starbucks about how racist Starbucks is, you can just go fuck yourself, because you're not really that angry at all. It's just, it's just like everything else on social media. It's just like, a bunch of fucking, what's the word? God damn it. What's the fucking word? I don't know, where, you're trying to show everybody how concerned you are, even though you're not really. There's a fucking term for it, and I use it all the fucking time, but I'm drawing a fucking blank. Virtue signaling, that's what I'm trying to think of. It's just a bunch of fucking virtue signaling, like always. When I found out Starbucks uses prison labor, which was like months ago, I stopped fucking, I haven't bought anything from Starbucks since, because I think that's kind of fucked up, I can't fucking, I mean, I don't know about you. Yeah, it was hard to sort of move on from Starbucks. And actually, I started making my own coffee. And it's, I can make it the way I want. Yeah, it's not fucking Starbucks. But, it's not like it tastes like shit. I know how to make fucking coffee. But I just, as much as I miss that fucking liquid candy bar, um, I can't put money into some shit like that. And the fact that people are still buying fucking Starbucks and now, and they're complaining about it. And Starbucks is going to release some fucking bullshit apology about how, oh, this is not congruent with our corporate fucking motto or whatever. Even though it just fucking happened, like a month ago. And people are going to be satisfied by it because some other fucking issue will come up. And, it's all a bunch of fucking horse shit. So, I don't take that shit serious anymore. Like, here's the thing that fucking, it makes me laugh. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk about this. What makes me fucking laugh, right, is when the shit happened to those two black gentlemen. Everybody was fucking upset, right? That, oh, this is so fucking racist. And, and when Starbucks said that they were going to do like 2 days of fucking, racial sensitivity training or whatever, people mocked the fuck out of it, right? But then you'll have somebody of a different nationality. And this happens with everything, right? Somebody that's of a different ethnicity, not nationality, because if we're all living in the United States, then we're all American. But somebody of a different ethnicity outside of white, they'll still continue to patronize the establishment or whatever it is. And then they get all fucking like shocked and like, oh, please come fucking defend me. Because now it's happening to me. I mean, that's just typical of everybody. I'm not, this isn't taking pot shots at Latin people. This happens with everyone. White people do this shit too, right? They seem to have no problem whatsoever with some of their own being racist and rude and whatever. But the minute it's done to them, they act like, I don't know, like it's a fucking crisis. And the thing is, it's not, it's not just, it's not just one group of people that does this. Everybody fucking does this. My point, which I don't even really know what it is at this point, but my point is basically, look, if a company does something horrific like this, your fucking Twitter or social media fucking protests aren't going to do a goddamn thing if you're still buying the product, you fucking idiots. These people don't give a fuck that you're upset on social media. They're still making fucking profits. The only way to affect these people, whether it's Starbucks or it's Nike or it's fucking Amazon or Apple or whatever, the only way to convince them to change their ways is you stop putting money in their fucking pockets, you idiots. Now, I know I'm not talking, or I know that the people that listen to me on a regular basis, I know you're not idiots. I know this. Because if you're listening to me, if you are a regular listener, not just somebody that happened to land on this, not that I'm shitting on those people either, but I get the feeling that you sort of feel the same way that I do. So, I'm really just, I don't know, preaching to the fucking choir over here. But yeah, fucking fuck Starbucks. And if you're still buying from there, then just keep your fucking mouth shut when it happens again. I mean, it's like, what is it going to take to get you fucking people out of there? Are they going to have to like burn a cross or, put somebody in a fucking oven or change the symbol to a fucking swastika? I mean, what are they going to have to do before you fucking realize that your little social media protests aren't going to do shit? Like I'm fucking... Like, I'm burnt out on all of the bullshit. I know I've said this, a gazillion fucking times, but it's just like everybody pretends like the answers to these fucking problems are so complicated. They're so complex, and how are we gonna fucking do it? And all it really takes is just a little bit of fucking discipline, right? Like the people that that complain about how Amazon, when they come into a state or a neighborhood, they basically shut down all of the brick and mortar type of stores, right? The family-owned stuff, right? They come in and they just basically push them all out. And you hear lots of people complaining about, oh, Amazon, they're such this like super fucking predatory capitalistic company, and they're horrible, and Jeff Bezos is a piece of shit, and I agree, but then they'll fucking still buy shit off of Amazon and use their fucking Prime, Amazon Prime accounts and all that fucking horse shit. And it's just like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like at this time, at this point, I'm sick of all the phony fucking online fucking activists that you're really all you're concerned about is how many fucking likes or retweets or followers or whatever, or thumbs up, or fucking that's all you really fucking care about. You don't actually care about changing anything, or else you would fucking do it. But anyway, I don't know how I knew how I got here, but this wasn't the purpose of this fucking podcast, like I said, or maybe I didn't say, I don't know. I've fucking started and restarted this podcast like 3 fucking times at this point, so I don't know what I've said and what I haven't said. I wasn't going to even do a podcast today because I am kind of busy, but I was on Twitter. I happened to read an article from the New York Times, which before I even go forward with this shit, I want to just throw a disclaimer out there. I don't consider the New York Times, or really any sort of mainstream media source, whether it's on TV or in print, I don't consider them reliable sources of information, mostly because they are bought and controlled by corporate interests that, will tell the best story about themselves that they possibly can. Right? But this particular article wasn't, it wasn't like, I don't know. I didn't take it as somebody trying to inform the public. It's just a sort of an account of their day or two or week or month or whatever with a particular popular person. And this particular article was about Jordan Peterson. Now, for those of you that don't know who Jordan Peterson is, he is he's considered like a mainstream intellectual now, because he took a stand, because he's like I think he's a psychology professor at the University of like Toronto or some shit, and he caused a big stir back in 2016 because he refused to abide by some law that was basically going to tell him that if somebody trans is in his class, that he has to address them by whichever fucking pronoun they choose. Now, to some degree, I am on that fucking that side of the fence. Not in the if you were born male but you consider yourself female, not that extent. My issues with the people are like, well, I identify as a fucking dwell or an elf or a fucking dragon or some shit. Like, there's no fucking way I'm going to refer to you as a fucking dragon. I don't give a shit. Some things are just obviously fucking make-believe, and I'm not gonna fucking do it. Like, like what is it, the pansexual, which is basically just somebody that's fucking bisexual, but for some reason it's got a new name. Which, like, if you really fucking think about it, like, what the fuck are we talking about? A pansexual means that they basically have no real preference. Well, that's kind of what a fucking bisexual is, isn't it? I mean, unless you're talking about, well, you feel like you should be able to have sex with animals, then, then we're not really talking about anything other than you're just a fucking nut. So in that respect, I'm not going to refer to you as that shit. Okay. You're bisexual. You fucking don't care if the person, what genitalia the person has. That is a bisexual. Calling it something else doesn't make it something else. But anyway, so yeah, he caused this big fucking stir because he didn't want to call, but on, at least as far as I know, now I could be wrong here, but his thing was that, if biologically you were born a male, but you're now calling yourself female, like, he's not gonna fucking do it. He's gonna base what he calls you on your biology, which is really just code for I'm a huge dick. Okay. So yeah, on some degree, I'm on the same fucking side as him, but on another, it's like, dude, like, how much fucking energy is it gonna take for you to put up that fucking fight? If the person wants to be called a female, if they're really a male, well, is it really gonna, like, what is it gonna do to you to just be like, all right, her or she? I mean, it's just different fucking sounds coming out of the hole in your head. So really, he's just choosing to be a dick, right? But for some reason, he has been hoisted up onto to fucking the male soldiers, the patriarchy, and I don't like using that fucking word because it sounds like some feminism bullshit. He is basically, he's been made famous because he has, he's refused to adapt to just how shit is nowadays. And in some ways, you have to commend him for it, but in others, it's like, dude, you're just throwing a fucking temper tantrum, So I don't really consider him a intellectual. He's a pseudo intellectual, but in reality, he's a fucking charlatan. He is the male version, or he's not the male version. He's like an intelligent version of fucking PewDiePie. That's all he fucking is. And he's made a name for himself by saying some outlandish shit. And because it got him a little bit of fame, he's decided to continue on with it. But for those of you who are like, oh no, you've been tricked, you've been bamboozled by the feminists, just listen to the shit that, this little fucking conversational blurb from this article about his perspective on things. Okay, and you tell me at the when I'm fucking done if this sounds like somebody that isn't a fucking nut job. All right. They were talking about, to give you a little lead into the blurb that I'm talking about. They were talking about the so-called patriarchy and. And his reference to lobsters and how they have a defined patriarchy, and but in human society we're slowly but surely collapsing that patriarchy, and he's really just upset about it. He's basically just an angry fucking guy that's just, he's the equivalent of the old man standing out on his fucking porch in his in a wife beater and his fucking tidy whities, screaming at the kids for walking on his fucking lawn. That's basically all it is. All right, but so they're talking about the patriarchy, and then so the blurb here goes: Mr. Peterson illustrates his arguments with copious references to ancient myths. Now already I don't like the wording here because it's just, it's like, oh, let me use the most fucking smartest sounding fucking words I can think of. He or she is trying to be on his level, but regardless of that, you have to fucking, well, let me just finish reading it to you. So Mr. Peterson illustrates his arguments with copious references to ancient myths, bringing up stories of witches, biblical allegories, and ancient traditions. I ask why these old stories should guide us today. He says, it makes sense that a witch lives in a swamp. Yeah. And then I guess this person says why. It's a hard one. Right, that's right. You don't know. It's because those things hang together at a very deep level, right? Yeah, and it makes sense that an old king lives in a desiccated tower. But witches don't exist and they don't live in swamps, I say. Yeah, they do. They do exist. They just don't exist the way you think they exist. They certainly exist. You may say, well, dragons don't exist. It's like, yes, they do. The category predator and the category dragon are the same category. It absolutely exists. It's a superordinate category. It exists absolutely more than anything else. In fact, it really exists. What exists is not obvious, you say. Well, there's no such thing as witches. Yeah, I know what you mean, but that isn't what you think when you go see a movie about them. You can't help but fall into these categories. There's no escape from them. Okay, if anybody can explain to me what the fuck he just said, let me have it, because to me that sounded like some grade A Kanye West mixed with a little bit of fucking Trump craziness. The guy is arguing that fucking witches exist and dragons exist and they exist in some other fucking way that we can't, or we're not capable of fucking comprehending, but somehow he's capable. I mean, does anybody fucking find this guy intelligent at all? I mean, I know that a lot of his fan base, you know, they developed their fucking love affair for him and Sam Harris and a couple of other people because, you know, they're fans of Joe Rogan's podcast, and Joe Rogan has, you know, Peterson and fucking Harris and all these people on his podcast on a regular fucking basis. And because Joe Rogan is, you know, he's very influenced by fucking craziness, it seems, that, you know, somehow these guys have been lifted into the fucking into the sky on fucking people's you know, pedestals as being intelligent beings. But they just, to me, they sound like they sound like fucking you know, like priests and pastors. It just sounds like fucking religious fucking mumbo jumbo, where, you know, where it could be interpreted any fucking way, but, you know, in this particular instance it's just, well, I'm more fucking you know, I'm higher, or I'm, you know, more elevated intellectually than you are, and that's why, you know, I fucking say witches and dragons exist, but not in the fucking typical way that you imagine them to be. That's a bunch of fucking horse shit. Okay? Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Dave Rubin, and the other fucking people that get a regular slot on Joe Rogan's podcast. And this is not a slight to Joe Rogan, because I listen to his podcast as well and enjoy it immensely. But just because, you know, I mean, here's the fucking funniest thing, right? This is what, like, if you're gonna dive deep into the mindset that a lot of these people get into, especially the ones that are huge fans of Jordan Peterson, is they have this mindset that, you know, that you don't have to follow people. It's okay to have your own opinions, which I 100% agree with. Except the irony is that the people that fucking follow this guy and that, you know, quote Joe Rogan and Sam Harris and all these people, all they act like are, I mean, and I apologize it, because I assume that at least 50%, 60% of the people that are listening to this now are, you know, also fans of Joe Rogan, which is why I said I'm still a fucking huge fan of him. I don't watch, or I don't listen anymore when he has Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris on, because I just don't feel like listening to 3 hours of bullshit. But the people that have lifted, you know, Peterson and Harris and Rubin and even Donald Trump up onto their shoulders and held in this high regard as being fucking geniuses. And by the way, Jordan Peterson has referred to Trump as a genius in his own right. He doesn't think he's, like, you know, ready to fucking split the atom or anything. But, you know, the only, you know, these people that have put these guys on this pedestal have essentially become a bunch of fucking lemmings following somebody, following snake oil salesmen that, because I mean, Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris, all of these guys, with the exception of Trump, they're very, what's the word? Oh God, what the fuck is the word for it? They're, God damn it. It's hard, it's hard to take this stance if I can't even think of the fucking words I want to use. But they speak very eloquently. They make it seem like what they're saying is very fucking profound, and it makes it seem like, oh, I'm fucking opening your mind to this idea that because fucking lobsters exist in a hierarchy, that therefore mankind should also respect that hierarchy because I can lift a woman up and she can't lift me up. I mean, that's basically what it fucking boils down to. It's like, ooh, I'm strong enough to lift rock. You can't lift rock, so therefore I should be in charge. I mean, that is basically all it boils down to. Now, am I saying I want to exist in a world where, women are in control? I don't really give a fuck who's in control, so long as they're not fucking out of their goddamn mind, so long as they're not fucking corrupted by corporations and bullshit. I just want somebody that can fucking make the right decisions. If we must have a leader, which I find, this is where I agree with Joe Rogan here, is like this idea that we need a fucking leader. It's absurd. But if we must have one, I just want one that won't fuck everybody over and get us caught up into a bunch of bullshit wars over over somebody's natural resources. Somebody that won't just shit on the fucking poor, and just somebody that's a fucking decent human being. That's all I really fucking want. Now, whether that person has a dick or a vagina, it doesn't fucking matter to me. But this idea that, because he has balls and because he can lift weights, therefore he is superior. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, like, I'm a strong dude. I can lift a lot of weight. If I got into a fight against, fucking Rose Namajunas, I don't even know how to fucking say her name. The the UFC chick. Like, if I got into a fight with any woman that's that's in MMA, I'm gonna get my ass kicked. So does that make me less of a fucking man because, or does that make her more of a man because she was able to defeat me in a fight? I mean, it's a bunch of fucking horse shit. It's a bunch of people that, just refuse to adapt to change. They yearn for the days when you could, smack a woman on her ass and fucking tweak her fucking nipple and she just took it as a sign of like, oh, they really like me, like they just yearn for that type of shit. Yeah, a lot of it has gotten out of fucking control. All of the goddamn pronouns and people losing their shit over if you even fucking disagree with a woman. I mean, a lot of it has gone way out of fucking hand. But a lot of these guys are really they just don't like the idea that things are fucking changing, as old fucking cunts are prone to do. I mean, I myself feel the same way about, quite a few things. Like, I just feel like, okay, like, for example, right? This lady attempted to give me shit because I how can I say this? I didn't, or like I kind of knocked my son down a peg in order to keep him humble. But she didn't take it as that, because there's this new age perspective on raising children where you must always, like, you must treat them like they're made out of fucking glass, and everything they do is awesome and all of that other fucking horse shit. Well, I refuse to do that. to my son, to my daughter. I don't, you know, I let them know that at the end of the day, yeah, I love you with everything inside me, but if, I'm not gonna blow smoke up your ass and tell you you're fucking wonderful at something when you really kind of fucking suck. And it just so happened that um it was one of his baseball games, right? For the longest time, I've struggled with him to get him to really, like, put 100% into what he's doing, right? I constantly would tell him, like, dude, even at practice, you need to behave, or not behave, but you need to act like it's a game. Because that's the whole purpose of practice, right? To get better so that when you are playing the game, you've improved. And for the longest time, he just sort of fucking was lackadaisical about shit. Now, he finally has decided to kick it up a notch. But, the last couple of games, he has managed to, score, a couple of doubles and, and a triple and, quite a few RBIs and stuff, right? He's feeling really good about himself, and, and I allow him to feel that way. But then this last game, he sort of reverted back to, sort of that, kind of fucking lazy. He wasn't swinging at shit that he should have swung at. He, would, like, watch, if he's in the outfield, he'd basically just watch the fucking ball go over his head rather than go for it. He was, just not really performing up to task, right? And he did it the entire game. Then the last inning, he managed to get a hit that got out, right? Which is no big deal. I've never expected him to, to be great. The only thing I expect is that you participate. And so, after the game was over, he comes running out and he's all excited. He's like, "Oh, did you see I got the hit?" And, and there's, of course, other parents standing around us. And I was like, "Well, yeah, I saw the hit, but what about the rest of the fucking game? I mean, I say fucking, but, what about the rest of the game? You fucking stank. You weren't even trying." And, I'm being the sort of father that I think, a kid needs. Right? If I'm just going to say, "Oh yeah, it's great that, the entire game you fucked off, but, at the very last minute you decided to," I'm not going to be that, because what is that going to fucking teach him? That it's okay to half-ass shit? And I let him know. And there was some lady like, "Oh, why can't you just celebrate his accomplishments? Why do you gotta," and it was just like, lady, go fuck yourself. You might want to raise your fucking sons and daughters to you want to raise them convinced that they're just awesome at fucking everything, and that, that it's okay to put, as least amount of fucking effort into the shit that you do, as you want. But, I'm not raising fucking little bitches. You know what I mean? I'm not, I'm trying to prepare him for fucking reality. What you're doing is you're keeping them in a fucking bubble of fantasy, and it's one that will pop immediately when they get a dose of fucking reality, right? Am I saying that my way of parenting is the best way? No, but it is my, I don't know, my homage to maintaining some degree of old school shit. I don't think you should baby your children. I don't think you should fucking abuse them or do a lot of the shit that was done to me as a kid. Obviously, you gotta fucking make tweaks on the way you parent, but this newfound just blow smoke up their ass and make them feel good about it. Fuck that. That isn't realistic. Okay? Not everything you do is fucking fantastic. Some things you suck at. And I talk to him all the time. Like, she catches that part of the conversation, but she doesn't, she's not there when I'm like, yeah, I might have tore him down a little bit, but, when we got home, I built him back up, right? I told him that, like, I know you can do this. You've proven the last few games that, you can be a real force, a real benefit to your team. So yeah, it disappoints me when I see you sort of slack off. And yeah, I'm not going to, yeah, it's great that you got a hit at the very last minute, but what would have been if you had put more effort in before that? I mean, what I haven't mentioned is the score of the game. The score was, I believe it was 14-0, and it wasn't his team that had the 14. Okay, whatever. I don't know why I'm fucking trying to justify this shit to you, but I guess what I'm getting at is that, yeah, there are some, I'm no different than some of these guys that yearn for a day, a day that's fucking past. But at the same time, I realize, like, okay, not everything can be the way it used to be, and that, yeah, I must fucking adapt to some degree. Am I going to, raise my children like like they're fucking superstars at everything? No, because that's unrealistic. Do I praise them when they do accomplish things? Do I always work on building up their self-esteem? Absolutely. But I'm not going to bullshit them. And I think that's probably one of the big reasons that that our fucking society is beginning to crumble, because you have all these people that have been told that they're fucking great, and they're realizing they're fucking not. And I mean, or you've got like with this social media thing, even with this fucking podcast, right? There's this idea that we all need to be heard now, that our opinions need to be shared, that what we have to fucking say is so fucking important, and it isn't. The shit I'm saying on this podcast, it isn't fucking important. It's important to me. I would hope it's important to you, but I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna fool myself into thinking that you're sitting over there fucking taking notes. I'm not fucking Jesus over here. I'm just some fucking jackass on a microphone, sitting on his fucking couch in the middle of the fucking afternoon. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, fucking Jordan Peterson, the dude's a fucking charlatan. Yeah, he speaks eloquently, but he is full of shit. Absolutely full of shit. Oh boy. Is there anything else I want to fucking talk about? I don't think so. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. It's not even a short one. I think this is about average, about half an hour, 40 minutes or whatever. But for those of you that are new to the podcast, I do a couple of these a week usually. Usually it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. Occasionally, I give you a little extra, and, on occasion I only give you one. It just really depends on how my schedule is going. But this week I gave you two. Yeah, so if you are new, welcome. If you've been a listener, previously, then, thanks for your fucking support. And yeah, so I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. I hope you have a good weekend. It is fucking Friday, so for those of you that don't work on the fucking weekends, you can relax in a few fucking hours. And for those of you that have to work during a weekend, you should have made better life choices. I'm just fucking with you. Anyway, like always, don't take any shit, and go fuck yourself. Peace.